Well, I mean, third time's the charm, and we're going to try to, we'll get it right eventually. I'm Rick Antonio in for Rick Antonio's News Talk Report. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but yeah, sorry we're a little late as well for our live viewers. But, nature calls, duty calls, however you want to call it. I think we've got things straightened out, at least what we're going to talk about today. There is one thing that's not on the notes that I just pulled up within the last, 5 seconds, but we'll get to that in a minute. I'm joined today again by the excellent, the great, the long-lasting Tyler CK, and again, we're just making sure that everyone out there is being safe in the weather. It's cold all across the country. It's especially in Texas, and we talked about that last week. The black ice in Texas. I didn't know it was as bad as it was, and you let us off with that.
Yeah, no, it was definitely more of an issue now than I thought it was going to be then. Like before, I thought it was just like, oh yeah, it got cold. Sometimes that happens in Texas, not always, but sometimes it does.
Mm-hmm.
And that just creates like the black ice on the roads when no one's really prepared or paying attention for it. And turns out that this year was not.
It ended up being more than ice.
Yeah.
Especially again, we're in Michigan, so I mean, we're not getting nearly as much as Texas got, but Texas had some bone-chilling temperatures statewide. Yep. And from my understanding, it's the first time that they've had a statewide chill warning in every single county.
Yeah, it's very unusual.
Very, very unusual, very cold. And
like they do get a little bit of snow down there. They do get, some cold temperatures, but it's never usually
the entire state at the same time, too. And to pair with that the entire Texas power grid, which we'll get into that in a second, but the entire Texas power grid is out. I mean, not anymore at this point. I mean, people are seeing their power restored, according to Axios. 2 million homes are already seeing their power restored. This is saying...
I know my aunt was saying to us that her power is back, but I know my cousin's power isn't. So
yeah, and this is as of this Thursday, according to Governor Greg Abbott, but apparently the Axios article says 325,000 Texans are still without electricity, sub-zero wind chill throughout most of the week. I mean, I get it. It's cold, and, most of the country is dealing with that unless you live west of, Texas, which is, or Florida, apparently. But I guess even west of Texas, the temperatures are dipping a bit there, too, this time of year. So... one person who did manage to take a dip or try to take a dip in a pool was Texas Senator Ted Cruz. And while normally I wouldn't cite an opinion article as, news, there are some facts cited in it and just going on about what's going on with Texas. So, again, Ted Cruz, him, his family, his wife, and I believe 2 daughters, I'm not up to speed on their social life, flew down to Cancun, Mexico to get away from it all. And I won't go into detail. I won't put my opinion in on it, just sharing what actually happened. Cruz was quoted saying he did it to be a good dad. His kids said, hey, can we go away this weekend? Something don't smell right. But
I mean, I can kind of see that actually being just, the case.
The reason I can see, yes, but, getting the plane tickets the Saturday beforehand.
Yeah, seems like a rushed plan.
Yeah. Like I said, source CNN opinion article, but sources I've got from ERCOT, the ironically named Texas Electric Reliability Council, or Electric Reliability Council of Texas, excuse me, couldn't handle the cold weather, statewide cold weather. I would imagine if it wasn't the entire state, maybe it could have been fine, but they supply about 90% of the state's power, but did not pay plants to be on standby for emergencies like this, which means electric prices apparently can spike during the high demand, and in some cases be shut off when petroleum sources are not available. And there were a lot of people saying, "Oh, wind power this, solar power that." I'm not going to blame those sources, but a lot of other
Whereas when you look at that, yeah, there are no power sources without a fault,
a backup
but
plan is always good. I'm not
a
going to rule
backup plan
anything
is
out.
good. And the issue with their uh, wind power sources is they weren't to the same standards as the rest of the country,
And I think that's where
or
the issue
potentially even the
lies.
world.
Everyone is citing, oh, wind power bad, oh, solar power bad. Well, we're getting those same temperatures here in Michigan, and we're not having an issue like that. We're not having
Right.
that same freezing windmills. We're not having, in some places, solar panels breaking because of how cold, but not all over the
Exactly.
state. Um,
And it's not to say that it doesn't happen. It's just to say that,
right.
it can happen, but the
It's like we
standards for
said.
the rest of the country are a little bit higher on those. Whereas, yeah, I'm sure they work properly when they do work
And I'm
while they're
wondering
down
how
there in
much of
Texas. It's
that
just no one's
boils
prepared for this cold
down
of weather.
to the Texas grid. The Texas grid, again, not the American grid.
No,
Because they supply their own sources, so that way they don't have to deal with federal laws, federal rules. I'm not a well-versed energy official, but with ERCOT supplying 90% of the state's power, they're not federally regulated in that case,
right.
which means, like you said, the wind power, the solar power. I don't know how much ERCOT has control over that in particular, but if it's not up to snuff, it's not federally regulated either. So,
Yeah, and there's no guarantee that they're not up to standards enough to be like just perfectly fine normally. Like
right, right.
80% of the time, I'm sure they're perfectly fine for what they were used for.
Yeah, most of the
It's
time. But
just
when you get, negative, what is it, negative 10, 20, 30, I thought.
yeah,
So there were,
like that's not a normal temperature in Texas
yeah,
usually ever.
according to that same Axios article, the what did I say? 2 million had their power restored. There's apparently 13.5 million other people facing water distribution issues, including millions under boil water advisories. Have you seen the
Yep.
pictures of the ceiling fan with the icicles dripping from it, or the toilet bowl that's just frozen over? It looks like a mountaintop almost.
I have not.
It's a bit out there. So,
I'll
but
definitely have to look at those later.
so that again, federal regulation is probably the big case as to why ERCOT is the Texas grid as opposed to being part of the American, the rest of the country regulated.
Right.
And most of that reasoning I actually got from ABC 13 down in Houston. Speaking of them, Jimmy Kimmel actually had them on last night. During his opening monologue, he mentioned them about an effort that they're putting on. I'm not going to go into it, but if you text ABC 13 to 41444 to donate directly to the Houston Food Bank, again, this being 2021, I don't know if that's going to be a forever number or whatever, but they did put it out there to help provide food and comfort and support for people that are dealing with the issues down there. So in speaking of live entertainment, the article that I got from Bill Warden from MSN say, Saturday Night Live gets a reprieve as Emmys separate variety talk and sketch categories again. I understand, yeah, SNL is going to get a boost on that, jumping from Jimmy Kimmel to SNL, of course. The changes by the Emmys were originally done on December 4th, saying that the Television Academy announced its rule changes for the 73rd Emmy Awards, separating awards, combining awards for Variety Talk and Variety Sketch Series into one category, Outstanding Variety Series. And that, as of this week, apparently has been changed back. The Academy released a statement saying the Television Academy's Board of Governors has reviewed its recent decision to merge the Variety Series program categories and has determined Variety Talk and Variety Sketch Series will remain separate, at least for this year. So,
I feel like they definitely don't need to be the same category.
No, they don't. because you get into talk shows in that case. You get into other TV talk shows and what's going on. If it's for entertainment, they could potentially both just fall into the same category.
Right.
So, but going
I
back
feel like
to
with talk shows, it's definitely more just like actual talk show, and with sketch, it's a clear difference between the two.
absolutely.
The way I see it, anyways.
The Emmys reversal is suggested that they saw what would be comparing apples and oranges, according to the article, but it's also a sign, that, at least according to the opinion writer on this, that Lorne Michaels of Saturday Night Live has a bit more swing with the Emmys than we thought. Personally receiving 91 Emmy nominations, nominations and winning 19 times, and inducted into the TV Academy Hall of Fame in 1999. So the other nominations, at least of last year, HBO's Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, that won a couple outstanding variety talk series the last 5 years. And this year, the other nominees in the category that was set to be a combined category: The Daily Show with Trevor Noah, Full Frontal with Samantha Bee, Jimmy Kimmel Live, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. And going up against shows like that, those are newsertainment kind of shows. And a lot of people are tuning into those for essentially their news. I mean, a lot of people aren't exactly trusting a lot of news sources right now, and I'm not going to delve into that. But when you go to Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel for your news, everyone's tuning in. That's when they're getting out of work, if they're out late, if they're working late. So I can see why Saturday Night Live would be a little upset with the change.
Yeah.
So
Especially
now,
since Saturday Night Live isn't really like a news thing.
yeah, Saturday Night Live is
They
a completely...
cover like, pop culture present things, but it's really not a news source.
Right, and that's where you get into the difference between the two categories, because you got one
Yeah.
that is strictly entertainment. Yeah, they'll poke and they'll even make political jabs sometimes, but that's not news. You don't get your news from Saturday Night Live.
Right.
But that's I'm wondering when that change will be in effect before when are the Emmys this year?
That is a good question.
It looks like that will be, well, the last one was on September 20th. So probably around that time this year. I don't know. I didn't catch last year. I didn't catch the 73 before this one. So
right. I don't really pay attention to award shows of any kind. So when they are, I have no idea.
Right. And when it comes to award shows, typically which one covers films? That's usually the one that I at least read up on the next day.
I'm also not sure. I want to say Golden Globe, but I have no idea, really.
Huh. Well, on to our next topic. We've got just a little bit of I'm not going to say drama with it, but the COVID-19 vaccine. And we talked last week about distribution and Johnson & Johnson going into a singular shot. But apparently this week, according to ABC, 2 women dressed as grannies tried to sneak in to get a COVID-19 vaccine in Florida. They obviously failed, so they're not winning any Emmys. But the women showed up to the Orange County Convention Center wearing bonnets, gloves, and glasses, the whole 9 yards, according to Dr. Raul Pino, director of Florida Department of Health. And this, again, coming from ABC. They were in their 30s and 40s, according to the sheriff's office, and that would make them ineligible to receive the vaccination outside of a healthcare or long-term care facility setting. I mean, there's a lot of people across the country that are either essential workers or they're older in age that are still trying to get it in the first place, and it's not an easy thing to come around right now. And while people are saying it should be more accessible by April, that's to be determined. Unless more things start getting approved or changed, that's a touchy subject, the actual availability of the vaccine. But this is almost like the 2 guys in a trench coat trying to get into the movie.
And I love that story because it's just, I guess, from what I think I saw in the article it was their second dose,
Oh,
which
so they
means they had
had
already
gotten in
got.
before then. I'm trying to pull that up as well.
Yeah, because the whole first line, just to quote the whole first line of it, is two women disguised themselves as grannies in a failed attempt to get a second dose of the vaccine,
Oh my goodness, the two
which
had.
means they would have had to have gotten it already before for the first dose,
Oh wow, so
but
they did get through then. It worked once already.
either disguised as grannies, or they got it from somewhere else, or maybe they are health
I,
field workers and they just didn't want to wait, so they decided, hey,
I'm thinking maybe Granny
let's
had
just
a new.
disguise.
Granny worked the first time. Apparently, I mean they had valid vaccination cards from their first shot, but on their second attempt there were issues with their driver's licenses, according to Dr. Pino. They said that they issued the two women trespass warnings after their dates of birth did not match those that they had used to register for the vaccines. So the question now, though, is they already got first shots. So do they just wait months on end for the second shot, or are they going to have to start all over again, or how is that going to work?
That's a really good question. I because we don't really know where or how they got their first dose. It's just dependent on that, really.
Yeah. Um, Apparently, in body camera footage obtained by ABC, again, this being an ABC source, the women, let me see, admonished the two. A deputy had admonished them for their selfishness of stealing a vaccine. Now you're getting into, okay, well, who's writing the laws, who's enforcing them, and who's putting their opinions out there. They're
Right. I mean,
deputies
I
quoted
don't
as
feel
saying,
like it was them stealing anything.
I don't think stealing, skipping a
Like,
line maybe, but then you get
right,
into
like,
all the you think athletes and higher ups, and that's a different tangent in itself. But
yeah,
who's
like I
getting
don't
it?
feel like what they did was right, and I do think they did violate some rules or laws or anything like that. But I don't think stealing is the one
I don't think
that I would
stealing's
go
the word
with.
I would use.
Right.
The deputy is quoted as saying, "You know what you've done? You've stolen a vaccine from somebody that needs it more than you. And now you're not going to get your second one. So that's a whole waste of time we just wasted here on this." And if that's the case, I mean, now you're saying they're wasting the vaccine. Would it just be easier to just give them the shot at that point, just to give them their second dose?
Right. Like you could give them the shot and then have them pay a fine of some kind.
Yeah,
Like,
and that makes sense, because I know a lot of cases, vaccines and even testing is free across the country. They were, it does look like they were flagged using the vaccine software. Quote, "You're not going to get a vaccine, so you got to wait your turn. If you come back at any time, you're going to be arrested."
ooh.
Well, so much for our plans next weekend.
All right. I was looking forward to that vacation down in Florida.
Yeah, the vacation down in Florida, or yeah, I was talking about we were planning on dressing up as grandpas or a camel. Just who gets to be hump one and who gets to be hump two.
Oh, I'm totally in the front hump.
Oh boy.
That
Uh
I'm not putting my face anywhere near your behind.
no, no, not this time of year. Shoveling, working up. But anyway, speaking of tasks that not a whole ton of people want to do right now, let's get into technology and how climbing robots could usher in a new age of automation. That's one you sent my way. The from the World Economic Forum. The $10 trillion is expected to be invested in automation and robotics by 2030. Now, how much of that will be going into warehouses and replacing people moving the boxes? Older warehouses that aren't exactly Amazon warehouses that are set for robots and that sort of thing. There's actually an Israeli firm, Bionic Hive, and it revealed its squid or robot. They're calling it squid. I don't think it would do very well underwater looking at some of the stuff
Probably
it's dealing
not.
with.
Yeah.
The squid robot will work with a standard pallet rack at any working facility. And if you've seen the video on this, I'll see if I can pull it up. I don't think it's going to let me. This thing, it carries things around just like any sort of what's the word? not crane.
Like a forklift?
Forklift, yeah. It carries
stuff
the
like that?
stuff around like forklifts do, but smaller loads, of course, but it can climb up the sides of the tall, sorry, I'm
Shelving units.
shelving
They're,
units. Yeah,
the
where they're
industrial
stored, the
shelves
storage
that,
units. Yeah,
you would have in the, like
like
in
you
the back
see.
storerooms, or you would find in like a Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever your
And what's impressive
DIY store
is
is.
the seamless how it goes from the floor to the shelf, how it goes from the storage along the long rail just to find the one
Mhm.
thing on the shelf. And then you
And the
see it.
fact that it can just be programmed to know exactly which number to go to and which location, like
Yeah,
that's
that's getting into organization of it too. But
yeah.
um, seeing it just pick the thing up off the shelf and then zoom back to the end to climb back down, that's I don't want to say scary, but it makes you wonder what other jobs can be automated. Podcast hosts.
Mm,
uh, yeah, it says by 2025, 85 million jobs are alleged to be displaced by a shift in the division of labor between humans and machines, according to the World Economic Forum's 2020 Future Jobs Report. But the actual numbers on this device in particular, again, it's a newer device. It looks like the only that one of the only current uses of automation and robotics is providing service to grocers like Kroger in the United States or Ocado in the United Kingdom. But until I see a squid as it's a squid machine running around with a crate of bananas, who knows? It says that thanks to onboard sensors and machine learning, transporting goods wherever they are needed are done easily, and the robot can carry weights of up to 15.8 kilograms. Now, how much is that in freedom units at this point?
that is a good question.
About
I don't know
34,
conversions.
35 pounds. It looks like it's about 35 pounds. And then it climbs the existing racks of shelves within the warehouse, attaching itself to vertical sets of rails and runners. So it's almost like like your kitchen drawer, how it's on the rails. It looks like the wheels
Mhm.
just lock in on something like that on the shelf.
Yeah.
The only thing is, when you get into things like this, I'm looking at this video on here, just running around. These things are organized. Do you remember a couple of years ago there was a halftime show with Lady Gaga and a whole bunch of drones, a whole bunch of lit up drones in the sky. It was one of the last few Super Bowls that was held at the Houston Texans stadium. Just moving around like a beehive, and that's why the company is called, Bionic Hive.
Right.
Makes sense.
I mean, the whole goal is to put a whole bunch of them in a warehouse so they can just all work together.
Yeah. And then you get each box, you get it to the guy at the back of the truck, or who knows, back of the truck, they'll just drop the stuff on the truck. And then the truck driver or the automated Tesla truck, we're going down the rabbit hole on that, but it just goes from here to here to here to here.
Like, on the one side, I do feel like it's really cool and awesome because it shows that our technology is moving
Advancing.
in a cool like direction with it.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it does kind of suck because it could be used to replace a whole lot of workers, which,
A large number, because
granted, none of them really want to be in that job to begin with most of the time.
in some cases, other cases, people are glad
But
because it can be a decent paying job, a decent highly
right.
paying job in some cases.
Like, I'm not like knocking anyone that does like that job or wants to have that job. I'm
Right.
just saying, like, I know that there's a lot of people that
It puts some strain on
complain
you.
and say they don't want that job,
It puts
but
strain on you, I'll say that.
yeah.
Because I remember I used to work at higher end, not higher end, but well-known retail store mattresses, and taking those things out by hand were not the easiest thing in the world. So,
No.
continuing the tech conversation, looking a bit at how other animals use tech, not just humans. Scientists have taught pigs how to play a video game, and they're actually pretty good at it. That, according to CNET, Hamlet, Omelette, Ebony, and Ivory are 4 pigs. Hamlet and Omelette being Yorkshire pigs, and looks like Ebony and Ivory are Panapinto micro pigs They're ambassadors for their species, as the article quotes. The quartet focused on a study that tested whether they could learn to play a video game. According to CNET, Purdue animal behavior specialist Candace Croney said that chimpanzee cognition experts, or actually, Candace Croney and Sarah Boyson, chimpanzee cognition expert, they wrote an article on the study of pigs in Frontiers in Psychology a week or two ago. The experts found that first they had to teach the pigs how to manipulate a joystick, a regular, the old Atari, the Pong joystick, with their snouts. And then they taught them how to move the joystick and play a game on a monitor right in front of them. They're not playing, shoot 'em ups like everyone else is nowadays. You got shoot 'em ups or Animal Crossing or things like that could win Game of the Year, but they apparently perform tasks well above chance. So it's not like they just nudged it and said, "Oh, well, what's going to happen next?" Maybe just by pre-calculating.
Like they actually somewhat managed to move something the
Yeah.
direction they were supposed to, through kind of like how you could put a mouse or something in a maze and they'd be able to find their way through.
Right. According to the research, though, it said that the Frontier research said pigs failed to meet the criteria used for primates, but that's kind of hard to do without thumbs, That's they suspect it's connected to the way the experiment functions. If it was one of those newer adaptability controllers that Microsoft has been putting out, where it's just a giant pad with the big, looks like bongos on it. I don't want to say bongos, but for those less abled, we could, it may be even more accessible for the pigs. So I wouldn't doubt that the pigs are probably going to be put in more experiments now that they know how to play Pong. See how long it gets them to play Bomberman.
2059. The world tournament for Pong.
Oh God, Tetris, and you get into all these big esports, Rocket League, Overwatch, and you just see a whole bunch of pigs lined up. And there's plenty of jokes people could make right now about pigs playing video games. There you're getting into a toxic environment, but don't want to say the wrong thing on that. But it's one small step for Piglet, one large step for Piglet kind. God. Okay then. Well, on to the next bit that we found. We go from tech to animals in tech. Let's just grab a regular animal story. We got out of Butler County, Ohio. The Butler County bomb unit had to be dispatched to a suspicious package that was thought to be a bomb outside a church, but ended up just being newborn kittens. They were found at a church in New Miami, according to a Facebook post from the Butler County Sheriff's Office. They didn't hear ticking. They heard purring. That's what they said. They got up to it. They heard purring. They used their bomb unit used its X-ray equipment to view what was inside the bag, expecting wires and technology. And this MSN article says that according to the Butler County Public Information Officer, Kim Peters, that's they just found a whole bunch of cats. It was a black duffel bag with a mom cat and 6 one-day-old kittens.
Oh.
There was a note inside the bag that said, "Mom's name is Sprinkles. She began giving birth at 2 p.m. The kittens were born Wednesday, February 17th. It's sad, but at the same time, knowing that they're not where they could have been abused or hurt or anything like that is a much better story to tell.
It sucks because no one wants to see, just a bag full of kittens. On the right side, at least their mom was in there with them. And it wasn't just they took the kittens and threw them in a bag and dropped them off somewhere.
Right.
And then also another good thing, it wasn't a bomb. So
yeah, it's a really good thing it wasn't a bomb. But
even better thing, it wasn't the kittens and a bomb. That would have just been tragic.
Yeah, that would have been very bad. And it looks like whoever dropped them off, taking them to a church, their mind was in the right place. But from my understanding, the old trope was babies left at the fire department, wasn't it? So I think that's according to the sheriff's department, the kittens were brought to the Animal Friends Humane Society this week. They're all being bathed after being freshly born. They need to be cleaned off. They were cold, but apparently Sprinkles was a good mom to them while they were just chilling there outside the church. So they all got their shots. They all got tested for whatever cats need to be tested for, and they're all survived and fine and healthy. That's good. So let me close on some of these. And I did mention that I had something that we didn't bring up before starting the show. It actually has to do with Netflix. Apparently, Netflix is bringing back the Chappelle Show. It was taken off after a lot of people were saying that Dave Chappelle needed to be paid. He needed to get his money. And I agree. The man needs to get paid if he was not being adequately compensated. According to IGN, Netflix previously removed Dave Chappelle's show after Chappelle requested he be compensated, but says now this is again quote from Chappelle, they called me back, I got my name back, I got my license back, and I got my show back. They paid me millions of dollars. Thank you very much. And Dave Chappelle is one of the bigger names in comedy, in my opinion, at least. He's got his sketches are up there. They touch
in
on
terms
things
of
a lot of people
our
wouldn't touch on.
generation. He's definitely one of the top.
Oh
ones.
yeah, you talk about older Comedy Central growing up. It was Chappelle's show all the time.
Yep.
So, jumping back into what we had, let's talk just a bit about more sports because we're getting ready to wrap things up. The NFL, like I said, not a football podcast, but something that's affecting the entire NFL. The NFL has informed teams that the 2021 salary cap will be no lower than $180 million, a slight increase from last year's previous agreement between the league and the NFL Players Association, that according to ESPN.
Is that per player?
That
or
is not
it like
per player.
Each
Wait.
team gets like that
That's a
much
great
to
question.
spend on buying players.
180 million. Again, this is per year. So when you look at the way players' contracts are broken down, you get the bottom of the rung. I think they make, God knows, $500,000.
All right.
If you're a bottom of the rung undrafted rookie, I don't know. I think it's only a couple thousand. NFL. Let me see that real quick. Rookie minimum NFL $610,000, and to be a practice squad rookie in the NFL and make $610,000. Oh darn! I don't get to play this week. Let me just cash my $500,000 paycheck. So, yeah, the league told teams in a memo Thursday morning that $180 million is not the final 2021 cap figure, just an adjustment of the cap floor. So that is the. Now, if I'm reading that right, that's the minimum that teams have to pay? So between all 53 men on the roster, that is what they have to pay all 53 of them combined. I don't know. I could be reading that backwards. So it's just an estimated floor. So there could be changes. There could be updates. Last summer, according to ESPN, while negotiating the terms under which league would proceed during the COVID-19 pandemic, the NFL and the NFL Players Association agreed that the original salary cap floor of $175 million per team would be good for 2021. But, with things changing every day, virus-wise, football-wise, team-wise, there have been a number of big trades and big releases so far already in the month. Not even month. It's only been 2 weeks since the Super Bowl, right? So,
yeah.
Things are happening fairly quickly, and then the draft will be around the corner soon enough. Just to ditch off of football, like I said, we do have a bit of baseball news. I skipped right over our basketball news. NCAA will be allowing fans into the March Madness games this year. Limited numbers, of course, and all 67 games going on at being played in Indiana this year. Spectators expected to be across the country. I'm looking at it, and it says the Big East tournament will be at Madison Square Garden. I'm trying to see where March Madness is at this year. I'm assuming Lucas Oil, but that's it's going to be Lucas Oil Stadium where the Indianapolis Colts play. So they're going to have all the chairs, all the seats ready for people to come in. and then a majority of them blocked off because it looks like 25% capacity for all 67 games being played in that stadium. According to the New York Post, the NCAA said more information will be made available after March 1st for the tournament that will be hosting all of its games in an NCAA bubble. Now, in that case, you got to remember these guys are still students.
Yeah,
these guys are still students. So to keep them in a bubble like that,
they don't want to. I mean, as students, they'd still have to go to like classes and everything like that too. So it's
that's what's
kinda
throwing me
hard.
off, because all these classes you get into who's allowed out of class. I know when I was in school, you miss 3 classes, you fail, depending on the class. I mean, that could be a strict attendance policy, but
most of my classes were, oh, you weren't here?
Oops.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I had quite a few that said you missed more than 3, you're done. Well then, thanks, I guess. That just
Can't
goes
say I
to
had
show.
any that were like that. At least none that, actually
Jeez.
mattered.
Yeah, the 25% capacity for the NCAA tournament, according to the New York Post, will include participants, essential staff, and family members of participating student athletes and coaches, along with fans. So that 25% seems like it'll be dropping and dropping and dropping to who can actually get in from the public, because you're going to be including coaches and staff, participants, and family.
I mean, already when you include the participants, coaches, and staff, you're already like a really good chunk of how many people can be there.
Yeah, and at the same time, you got to keep in mind that Lucas Oil Stadium has a full capacity of 70,000, and they have luxury suites that I think would count as sectioned off enough to be able to bring a private party into. But
yeah,
that's
I
an
think that's how
interesting take on
that should work for those at least.
And then to see where we're at, talk just a little bit about baseball before we finish things up. Baseball's getting ready to start. We mentioned was it last week, that the Major League Baseball Players Association said they do not want a delay of the season, right?
Yep, and I think we were saying that as far as we knew and as far as they knew, everything was on track for them to start on time.
Yeah, and as of what looks like, I wrote it all down on here, it looks like pitchers and catchers for a majority of teams reported on the 16th or 17th of February, with first workouts for them starting the next day. Position players, as in first base, second base, outfield, that sort of thing, all reported on February 21st or 22nd, depending on when they all came in, and then their first team workout, obviously, the next day. And where you get into with that, those, and 21st and 22nd, I'm thinking ahead, that'll be middle of next week, I think. First full team workout on the 22nd. First spring training game, including our Detroit Tigers, February 28th.
And we do have someone watching live that has a question related to baseball.
Oh, let me see.
So go ahead and shoot out that question, I guess.
Yeah, if you got questions, feel free to throw it our way. Yeah, we don't have much time left on here, but yeah, if you got questions, shoot it our way. Throw it in the chat. I have a baseball-related question. Yeah, go ahead. See how quick that can catch up to us, because I know there's a delay on the stream.
Right.
And again, I'm not a baseball professional, so keeping in mind that whatever you're asking, I may not have it off the top of my head. But yeah, like I was saying, February 28th is when they're going to be starting. They're starting their games. Regular season starting April 1st for a majority of teams, including, again, our Tigers. Playing into that, though, you got all 30 teams being split between their practice facilities in Arizona and in Florida. So, let's see. Well, actually, the article we had pulled up for that is that of the players reporting for spring training, 13 of 4,336 tests done for COVID-19 came back positive. So 0.3%, 13 out of almost 4,500. That's about it.
Good.
Sorry we couldn't get to your question today, and that is really, really good. So I'm Rick Antonio for, again, this week's Rick Antonio News Talk Report. Thank you again, Tyler TK, for stopping by. We've got next week's stuff. We'll work on that, and we'll post it and start getting this thing spread out around social media. And we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitch, and now we're on Anchor and Spotify. So thanks again. Have a great night.